The 24/7 Habit: How to Unlock Your Body's Hidden Superpowers, Eat What You Love, and Upgrade Your Life by Not Eating. Book Summary. We see hundreds of health and diet books a year. They all promise a new you, a better life, a smaller waistline, and frankly, most of them fail because they start from a flawed premise. The 24/7 Habit is something entirely different. This isn't a diet book. It's the story of a system-wide life upgrade discovered entirely by accident. Erikson, a Cambridge-trained doctor obsessed with productivity, wasn't trying to lose weight or get healthy. He was simply trying to find a shortcut, a way to claw back a few extra minutes in his impossibly busy day. So he skipped breakfast. What he expected was a morning of brain fog and stomach rumbles. What he found was a state of clean, crisp, unparalleled focus that he'd been searching for his entire life. This accidental experiment led him down a rabbit hole, and what he uncovered is a secret that turns decades of conventional wisdom on its head. What if the single most important piece of health advice you've ever been given, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, is nothing more than a century-old marketing campaign? What if the exhausting, soul-crushing act of counting calories is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how our bodies actually work? In the 24/7 Habit, Erikson doesn't just present the science. He introduces you to the characters at war inside your own mind. You'll meet the hunger gremlin, the dramatic inner toddler who demands snacks out of boredom and stress, and you'll learn why its voice is usually a complete lie. You'll uncover the calorie-counting con and see why your body isn't a simple furnace but a complex chemistry lab, where 100 calories of a donut and 100 calories of avocado set off wildly different chain reactions. This book is a gripping investigation into the hidden forces that control our daily choices. Why is it nearly impossible to resist that office pastry? The answer is a fascinating and slightly terrifying look into a world of hyper-palatable foods engineered by scientists to hijack your brain's own reward system, creating an addictive cycle of wanting that has nothing to do with genuine enjoyment. Erikson reveals that fasting is not about starving yourself. It's a powerful pattern interrupt, the key to resetting your hijacked brain, reclaiming your energy, and finally getting off the blood sugar roller coaster. He provides a proven step-by-step blueprint for a 36-hour full-body reset that unlocks a new level of mental clarity and self-control. What begins as a simple productivity hack unfolds into a profound discovery. Mastering the gentle art of not eating is the secret to unlocking your inner power, rebuilding your resilience, and proving to yourself, once and for all, that you are the one in the driver's seat. This is more than a book. It's a playbook for a new operating system for your life. The mystery isn't what to eat, it's when. And the answer will change everything.
Introduction: The Accidental Experiment That Changed My Life. All right, let's be honest. If you'd told me 10 years ago, in the midst of my frenetic life as a medical student at Cambridge, that I'd one day write a book advocating for, well, not eating, I would have laughed. I probably would have prescribed you a hearty meal and a good night's sleep. Back then, my life was a frantic sprint from one lecture to the next, fueled by caffeine and a deep-seated fear of falling behind. My calendar was a horrifying game of Tetris with every block filled. My goal wasn't to thrive, it was to survive. And survival, according to everything I'd ever been taught, depended on a steady intake of fuel, 3 square meals a day with snacks in between. Breakfast, I believed with religious fervor, was the most important meal of the day. So, every morning, I'd dutifully force down a bowl of porridge or some dry toast, often while simultaneously trying to memorize the Krebs cycle. It wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't even particularly helpful. It was just another task on an endless to-do list, a box to be ticked. The change didn't come from a grand epiphany or a revolutionary health study. It came, as most meaningful changes in my life have, from a place of pure, unadulterated laziness. Or, to put a more productive spin on it, a relentless search for efficiency. One particularly manic Tuesday, I was hopelessly late. I had a choice: spend 10 minutes making an inhaling breakfast, or get to my clinical rotation on time and not look like a complete slacker. For the first time ever, I chose the latter. I skipped breakfast. I braced myself for the inevitable crash. I expected the brain fog to descend by 10 a.m. I anticipated my stomach rumbling so loudly it would interrupt the word round. I pictured myself collapsing in a heap, unable to focus, my academic career in tatters, all for want of a piece of toast. But the weirdest thing happened. Nothing. In fact, it was better than nothing. The morning passed in a state of clean, crisp focus. There was no mid-morning slump, no desperate craving for a sugary snack. My energy, which usually resembled a volatile stock market chart, was steady. For the first time, it felt like my mind was running on premium fuel. I got to lunchtime feeling not ravenous, but just ready to eat. Being the nerdy, evidence-obsessed person I am, I couldn't let this go. Was it a fluke? I decided to run it again the next day. Same result. I suddenly had an extra 15-20 minutes in my morning, and my mind felt sharper than ever. I had stumbled into intermittent fasting purely as a productivity hack, a way to claw back a few precious minutes from the morning chaos. But what I discovered was something far more profound. This wasn't just a life hack, it was a life upgrade. It was like I had been running my entire life on a buggy, outdated operating system, and I had just discovered a clean, powerful software update. This book is the story of that discovery. It's not another restrictive diet book that will make you feel guilty about eating a slice of pizza. Honestly, I love food way too much for that. This is a playbook about how the simple, strategic act of when you eat, not just what you eat, can fundamentally change your life. We're going to dismantle the old, tired dogma that keeps us shackled to a constant eating schedule. We'll have a bit of a laugh at the absurdity of traditional dieting, the tiny Tupperware containers, the soul-crushing calorie counting, the war against carbs. Instead, we'll build a flexible, sustainable system that works for your life. My accidental experiment showed me that fasting isn't about starvation or deprivation. It's about unlocking a state of incredible energy, razor-sharp focus, and a newfound sense of freedom and control. It's a tool to tap into your body's hidden superpowers, powers that have been there all along, just buried under a constant stream of snacks and meals. So, if you're ready to upgrade your body's operating system, eat food you genuinely love, and reclaim your energy and focus without turning your life upside down, then you're in the right place. Let's begin the experiment.
Part 1. Unlearning everything you thought you knew about food. Chapter 1. The 3-meal myth. Why breakfast is the most important meal of the day is an outdated commandment. For most of my academic life, I was a devout member of the Church of Breakfast. My alarm would go off at some ungodly hour, and after hitting snooze one too many times, I'd stumble to the kitchen like a zombie in search of brains, or in my case, bran flakes. My mantra, repeated silently as I poured milk into a bowl, was a piece of dogma I held as an irrefutable truth. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I pictured my brain as a car engine. To get it started for a long day of memorizing anatomical structures and complex biochemical pathways, it needed fuel. If I skipped this crucial first meal,
I was convinced the engine would sputter and die before I even made it to my 9 a.m. lecture. I have a distinct, slightly traumatic memory of trying to review flashcards on the cranial nerves while chewing a piece of toast that had the texture and flavor of cardboard. I wasn't hungry. I certainly wasn't enjoying it. I was just fueling. It felt like a chore, another box to tick in my hyper-optimized productivity system. Get up, get dressed, consume fuel, go. We've all heard it. From our parents, from our teachers, from TV commercials featuring cartoon suns and cheerful tigers. The message is deeply ingrained in our culture. But have you ever stopped to ask why? Where did this commandment, handed down from on high, actually come from? For years, I just assumed it was based on some ironclad biological law, that our bodies are hardwired to wake up and demand an immediate input of calories. The truth is a lot more interesting, and a little bit absurd. The idea of 3 square meals a day is not a timeless biological necessity. It's a surprisingly modern invention. And the importance of breakfast part is one of the greatest marketing masterstrokes of all time. If we rewind the clock, our ancestors weren't setting their morning alarms for porridge and orange juice. For most of human history, people ate when they could, and meal structures were fluid, dictated by work, seasons, and food availability. The Romans, for example, were famously 1 meal a day people, believing that eating more than once was a form of gluttony. So what changed? A few things. First, the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries began to standardize the workday. People needed to eat before a long, grueling shift, and so breakfast became a practical necessity for laborers. Lunch was a midday break, and dinner was the meal after returning home. The structure fit the new 9-to-5 world. But the real magic happened in the early 20th century, thanks to a man you've probably heard of, Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. Yes, that Kellogg. Dr. Kellogg was a fascinating and deeply strange religious Seventh-day Adventist who ran a health sanatorium in Michigan. He was a passionate advocate for biological living and believed, among other things, that bland, plain foods could cure a multitude of society's sins. To that end, he and his brother Will Keith Kellogg invented a flaked wheat product to serve to his patients. It was meant to be healthy, easy to digest, and decidedly unexciting. You know it today as cereal. When his brother, Will Keith Kellogg, saw the commercial potential, he started mass marketing this new invention. But how do you sell millions of boxes of processed grain? You need a narrative. You need a reason for people to eat it every single day. And thus, with the help of some brilliant marketing and advertising, the idea that breakfast was the most critical meal for health, intellect, and family well-being was born. Cereal companies funded studies and launched massive campaigns that transformed breakfast from an optional meal into a daily non-negotiable ritual. So the commandment wasn't handed down by nature. It was sold to us, very effectively, by people who wanted to sell us boxes of cornflakes. Now, this isn't to say that the people who sold it were evil geniuses twirling their mustaches, but it's crucial to understand that our entire modern eating structure is built less on biology and more on culture and commerce. And here's the problem. For many of us, this structure no longer serves us. By eating the moment we wake up, we're effectively keeping our bodies in a constant fed state. Think of your body having 2 modes. The first is storage mode. When you eat, especially carbs and sugars, your body releases insulin to shuttle that energy into your cells. Whatever isn't needed right away gets stored, often as fat. The second is burning mode. When you haven't eaten for a while, your insulin levels fall. This signals to your body that it's time to stop storing and start using the energy it already has on board, i.e., burning its own fat stores for fuel. By eating breakfast, then a snack, then lunch, then another snack, then dinner, we're essentially keeping our bodies in storage mode 24/7. We never give ourselves a chance to flip the switch into burning mode. This is what leads to the sugar crashes, the brain fog, and the constant feeling of needing to refuel. We're riding a sugar roller coaster, and we're told the solution is just to keep eating.
When I accidentally skipped breakfast that one fateful Tuesday, I unwittingly kept myself in burning mode. My body simply tapped into its existing energy reserves. The result? No sugar roller coaster, no dramatic crash, just clean, stable, sustained energy and focus. And the best part? It was the most effortless productivity hack I have ever found. Simply by delaying my first meal, I immediately gained back time, mental clarity, and a feeling of control I didn't even know I was missing. I'm not asking you to join a new religion or to start chanting anti-breakfast mantras in the morning. I'm simply inviting you to question the old one. Just for a day, try running a small experiment. See what happens when you skip the cardboard toast and just have a coffee or tea. You might just discover that the most important meal of the day is the one you decide to skip.
Chapter 2. The Hunger Gremlin. Unexpected reasons you feel hungry and why it's usually a lie. It's 3 p.m. on a Wednesday. I'm sitting at my desk trying to work my way through a particularly dense medical research paper. The words are starting to blur, my focus is waning, and then, from the depths of my brain, a tiny voice whispers, "Psst, you know what would make this better? Toast." The voice is persuasive. It paints a vivid, glorious picture of a perfectly crispy, buttery slice of toast. Suddenly, reading this paper feels like the most difficult task in the world, and acquiring toast feels like my single most important mission in life. Sound familiar? We all have this voice. I call it the Hunger Gremlin. This gremlin isn't a monster. He's more like a needy, impulsive, and slightly dramatic toddler living in your head. He doesn't care about your long-term goals of being healthy or productive. He operates on one simple principle: immediate gratification. The gremlin pops up at the first sign of boredom, stress, or procrastination and tells you there's only one solution: food. And usually, it's not a crisp apple he's screaming for. For years, I thought the gremlin's voice was the voice of genuine, biological hunger. I believed my body was sending me an urgent SOS signal for fuel. So I'd obey. I'd make the toast, eat the biscuits, or grab the snack. I'd get a fleeting 5-minute hit of satisfaction, followed by a familiar energy slump, and the research paper would still be there, waiting for me. The biggest game changer for me was realizing that the gremlin is a terrible liar. Most of what we call hunger in our day-to-day lives isn't true hunger at all. It's a phantom feeling, a powerfully conditioned habit triggered by anything but a real need for nutrients. To understand how to handle the gremlin, we need to quickly look at the science, but don't worry, we'll make it fun. Meet the two hormones who are the main characters in our story. The dynamic duo, ghrelin versus leptin. Think of this as a drama playing out inside your body every single day. Ghrelin, the gremlin of hunger, this is your go hormone. Its primary job is to tell your brain, hey, it's time to seek out food. Ghrelin is the chemical messenger the hunger gremlin sends to the big boss, your brain, to get what it wants. Crucially, ghrelin works in waves. It rises, sending a hunger signal, but if you ignore it, it will crest and fall away on its own after about 10 to 20 minutes. It doesn't just keep getting stronger and stronger until you explode. Leptin, the sage of satiety, is your stop hormone. This produced by your fat cells, and its job is to tell your brain, all right, team, we're full, energy stores are good, you can stop eating now. Leptin is the calm, rational advisor in the room. The problem is that in our modern world of constant snacking, the noisy gremlin and his messenger ghrelin is always screaming for attention. Meanwhile, we've become really bad at hearing the quiet, sensible advice of our inner sage. The gremlin is running the show. So if it's not real hunger,
What are the triggers that wake this creature up? The boredom trigger. This is the gremlin's favorite. You're doing something tedious, and he suggests a snack as a mini adventure. A welcome distraction. The procrastination trigger. Similar to boredom, but more specific. You have a big, important task to do, and the gremlin masterfully suggests that you obviously need the perfect snack before you can possibly begin. The habit trigger. It's 8 p.m. You've just sat down on the sofa to watch Netflix. Your gremlin, conditioned by years of training, screams, "Popcorn!" even if you finished dinner an hour ago. He's running on a schedule. The emotional trigger. Feeling stressed, sad, or anxious? The gremlin pops up offering a comforting donut as a solution. It's his version of a hug. The sensory trigger. You see an ad on TV, you smell a bakery as you walk down the street, your colleague opens a package of crisps. The gremlin takes this as a direct personal invitation to feast. Recognizing that these triggers are the source of the craving, not an actual need for energy, is the first step. The second step is equipping yourself with the tools to calmly and kindly tell the gremlin, "Not right now, mate." The Gremlin Taming Toolkit. 4 steps to take back control. This isn't about fighting a war with your body. It's about learning to distinguish the signal from the noise. Here's a simple, actionable toolkit you can use the next time the gremlin starts demanding toast. Run the 10-minute timer. This is my go-to tactic. When the craving hits, look at your watch and make a deal with the gremlin. Okay, if I still desperately want this snack in 10 minutes, I can have it. Then go do something else. 9 times out of 10, the gremlin wave will pass, the gremlin will get distracted, and you'll have completely forgotten about it. Hydrate first. The water trick. Our brains are notoriously bad at telling the difference between hunger and thirst. Before you reach for a snack, drink a large glass of water and wait a few minutes. It's a surprisingly effective way to check if the signal was just a false alarm. Execute a context switch. Acknowledge the feeling and ask, what am I really feeling right now? Is it boredom? Then stand up and do 10 squats or walk around the room. Is it stress? Try taking 3 deep breaths. Often, changing your context or addressing the underlying emotion makes the food craving vanish into thin air. Name it to tame it. This sounds ridiculously simple, but it works. When the voice starts, just say to yourself, either out loud or in your head, "Oh, that's just my hunger gremlin showing up because I'm procrastinating on this report." The act of naming it and identifying the trigger instantly separates you from the craving. It's not your essential need. It's just a predictable pattern of behavior from your silly inner gremlin. Learning to understand your hunger gremlin is a skill. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to see his tricks for what they are. You'll begin to build a new relationship with the feeling of empty stomach, not as an emergency that needs solving, but as a normal, harmless state. This is the foundation of making fasting feel not like a punishment, but like a superpower. You are in control, not the gremlin.
Chapter 3. The Calorie Counting Con. Why Our Food Diary is a Flawed Strategy for a Happier Life. Okay, confession time. For about 18 months of my life, I was a bona fide card-carrying calorie counter, and I was really good at it. I had the app, of course. My FitnessPal was my Bible. My phone's home screen was a shrine to nutritional data. I also had a tiny digital food scale that became my constant kitchen companion. I weighed everything. Slices of apple, spoonfuls of peanut butter, even the splash of milk in my tea. I logged it all in my meticulously curated spreadsheets, complete with color-coded cells and daily macro targets. On the surface, this was peak productivity. I was treating my body like a business, carefully managing my assets, calories in, and liabilities, calories out. I was collecting data. I was optimizing.
I was hacking my own biology. In reality, I was miserable. My life, once filled with the simple joy of eating, had become a relentless game of arithmetic. A dinner invitation wasn't a chance to connect with friends. It was an exercise in covertly Googling the nutritional information of a restaurant's menu under the table. A piece of birthday cake wasn't a delicious moment of celebration. It was a devastating blow to my daily numbers, a caloric grenade that sent my spreadsheet into a sea of red. Food lost its identity. An avocado wasn't a creamy, satisfying fruit anymore. It was 234 calories and 21 grams of fat. I was a prisoner in a self-made jail of numbers, and the constant mental overhead was exhausting. The whole system was built on a beautifully simple equation that we've all been taught. Calories in minus calories out equals weight gain or loss. It makes perfect sense, right? Your body is like a bank account. If you deposit more calories than you withdraw, your balance goes up. If you withdraw more than you deposit, it goes down. The SECO model is the foundation of virtually every mainstream diet. The only problem is that it's fundamentally flawed. Because your body isn't a simple furnace or a bank account. It's a wildly complex, beautifully intelligent, and slightly chaotic chemistry lab. And in a chemistry lab, the type of ingredient you add matters as much, if not more, than the quantity. 100 calories of sugar does not provoke the same biological reaction as 100 calories of salmon. Just like mixing two different chemicals in a beaker, they create entirely different downstream effects. Thinking they're the same because the number on the label is identical is a massive oversimplification. The master chemist in charge of our lab is our hormonal system, and if there's one hormone you need to get to know, the head honcho who's really running the show, it's insulin. Meet the gatekeeper, your new best friend, insulin. Let's keep this super simple. Think of insulin as the gatekeeper of your body's energy. Its main job is to respond to the food you eat, particularly carbohydrates and sugars, and direct that energy where it needs to go. When you eat a donut, your blood sugar spikes. Your body, being the smart system it is, releases insulin. Insulin then swoops in and tells your cells, "Hey guys, party's here, open up and take in the sugar for energy." It also tells your fat cells to store any excess. In this state, with insulin levels high, your body is in full-on storage mode. Crucially, while insulin is on duty, it puts a big do not enter sign on your stored fat. It's a one-way street. When insulin is high, energy can flow into fat cells, but it can't flow out. Your body is prevented from accessing its own stored fuel. Now consider what happens when you eat an avocado. It has more calories than the donut, but it's mostly fat and fiber with very few carbs. It provokes a much smaller, slower insulin response. The gatekeeper remains calm. Your body gets the energy it needs without getting a blaring signal to store everything as fat. This is the entire con of calorie counting. You could eat a perfectly calculated 1,800 calorie diet composed of sugary granola bars, low-fat yogurts, and pasta, and find yourself constantly hungry, tired, and not losing a single pound. Why? Because you'd be spiking your insulin all day, keeping your body permanently locked in storage mode, forever preventing it from tapping into your fat reserves. You're effectively hungry in a land of plenty. So how do we fix this? Do we all need to start carrying insulin meters around with us? No. There's a far simpler, more elegant, and infinitely less stressful way to manage our master chemist. Give it a break. This is where the magic of intermittent fasting comes in. By creating a dedicated window of time where you aren't eating, you are not provoking an insulin response. Your insulin levels naturally fall. When they drop low enough, the gatekeeper steps aside. The do not enter sign on your fat cells comes down. Suddenly your body gets the signal. All right, team, no new fuel coming in. Time to open the archives and start using the good stuff we've got stored away. Your body gracefully transitions from running on sugar from your last meal to running on your own stored body fat. This is the key, the secret. Shifting your focus from the exhausting, soul-crushing game of counting every calorie to the simple, empowering goal of creating a daily window where your insulin can stay in low. When you do that, you're not starving yourself. You're just changing your fuel source. You're teaching your body to be metabolically flexible. You liberate yourself from the tyranny of the food scale and the spreadsheet, and instead you begin to work with your body's natural hormonal rhythms. It's the difference between fighting against the current and learning how to surf. And trust me, surfing is a lot more fun.
Part 2. The Fasting Playbook, your guide to a simpler, more energized life. Chapter 4. Finding your fasting flow. How to make intermittent fasting work for you, not the other way around. All right, so if you're anything like I was when I first started exploring this stuff, you might be feeling a mix of excitement and slight panic right now. The ideas make sense, but your brain is already jumping to the practicalities. Okay, skipping breakfast sounds good, but what about the weekly team brunch? What about date night? Do I have to become the weird, socially awkward person who just sips water while everyone else is eating? Let's take a deep breath. The single biggest mistake people make when they start fasting is treating it like a traditional, rigid diet. They find a strict protocol online, try to weld their messy, unpredictable life onto its perfect structure, and then feel like a failure when it inevitably cracks after 3 days. This is not about that. This is about moving away from the dieting mindset and adopting a systems mindset. A diet has rigid rules. A system has a flexible framework. A diet shames you when you break it. A system allows you to adapt and adjust. Our goal here isn't to find the one perfect, scientifically optimized fasting schedule. It's to find a starting template that fits your life and then give you the tools to customize it. Think of the different fasting protocols less like strict prescriptions and more like apps on your phone. You don't use every app every day. You choose the right tool for the job. So let's have a look at the most popular apps in our fasting toolkit. The fasting menu, 3 flexible starting points. The daily commute, 16-8 method. This is the workhorse of intermittent fasting. It's simple, sustainable, and for most people, it's the perfect default setting. The model is straightforward. You fast for 16 hours, and you have an 8-hour window to eat. It sounds technical, but for most of us, this simply means finishing dinner at 8 p.m., sleeping, skipping breakfast, and having your first meal at 12 p.m. the next day. You're asleep for most of the fast. I started here, and it's the rhythm I come back to most often. It's consistent, requires minimal planning, and has a massive impact on daily energy and focus. The weekly reset, eat, stop, eat. This is for people who prefer to think about this stuff less often. Instead of a daily schedule, you just pick 1 or 2 days a week to do a full 24-hour fast. For example, you'd finish dinner at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday and not eat again until 7 p.m. on Wednesday. For the other 5 or 6 days of the week, you just eat normally without thinking about schedules. It's a fantastic way to get a deeper reset, and some people find it easier than a daily restriction. Think of it as a weekly deep clean for your system rather than a daily tidying up. The Power Hour, OMAD, 1 meal a day. This is a more advanced app in the toolkit. As the name suggests, you eat all of your daily food within roughly a 1-hour window. This leads to a 23-hour fast each day. I've experimented with this during particularly intense periods of deep work, and the mental clarity can be off the charts. However, it's not the best place for beginners to start, as it can be socially restrictive and take some getting used to. So, which app should you download first? To help you out, here's a quick, entirely unscientific quiz. Quiz: what's your fasting style? Jot down your answers, A, B, or C, to the questions below. When it comes to your daily routine, you are a creature of habit. I thrive on having a predictable daily routine. B, pretty flexible. My days are all over the place and I prefer freedom over a fixed structure. C, hyper-focused. I love blotching out huge chunks of time for intense work. What best describes your ideal approach to a new project? A, small, consistent efforts every single day.
slow and steady wins the race. B, an intense burst of work once or twice a week to get it all done in one go. C, full immersion. I go all in on one thing until it's finished. The results. Mostly A's. You might be a daily commuter. You value consistency and routine. The 16-8 method will likely fit seamlessly into your life, becoming a background habit that you barely have to think about. It provides structure without being overly restrictive. Mostly B's. You might be a weekly resetter. Your life is dynamic, and a rigid daily schedule feels like a cage. The freedom of the eat, stop, eat approach allows you to schedule your fasts around your life, not the other way around. Mostly C's. You might be a power hour candidate. You have the focus and the lifestyle to experiment with a more intense protocol. You might enjoy the challenge and the productivity benefits of OMAD, but remember to start slow. Making it work in the real world, the integration toolkit. Regardless of your starting point, life will happen. The key is knowing how to adapt. Here's how you handle the most common curveballs. The social situation solution. Let's say you're doing 16-8 with a 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. eating window, but your friend invites you to a celebratory breakfast at 9 a.m. The old diet brain would panic. The new systems brain just adapts. Enjoy the breakfast. Then just simply start your 16-hour fast from there, or just call it a day and get back on your normal schedule tomorrow. Rule number 1, a good system is flexible. Don't skip life, just adjust the framework. The holiday or vacation protocol. You're on holiday in Italy. Do you skip the morning croissant? Absolutely not. The whole point of this is to enhance your life, not limit it. Just toggle off the fasting app for the week. Enjoy yourself completely. The beauty of a system is that it's always there waiting for you when you get back. There's no falling off the wagon because there is no wagon. The feeling awkward escape hatch. You don't need to announce to the world that you're fasting. When you skip the office cake, you don't need to give a lecture on insulin. A simple, "No thanks, I'm not hungry right now," is all you ever need to say. Keep it simple. This is your personal system, not a public declaration. The goal is to experiment. Pick one of these templates and try it for a week. See how it feels. See where it rubs up against the realities of your life. Then tweak it. Maybe 16-8 is too much, but 14-10 is perfect. Maybe a 24-hour fast is too intense, but an 18-hour one feels great. You are the scientist in this experiment of one. So let's get into the lab and find your flow.
Chapter 5. Conquering the 36-hour fast, a proven 4-step blueprint for a full body reset. All right, let's address the elephant in the room. The phrase 36-hour fast can sound, to the uninitiated, completely bonkers. I get it. The first time I considered it, my hunger gremlin didn't just whisper, he threw a full-on tantrum. 36 hours? Are you trying to kill us? Not eating for a day and a half sounds less like a wellness hack and more like a survival challenge you'd see on a reality TV show. But I want to reframe this for you. A 36-hour fast isn't about deprivation. It's a strategic tool. If the 16-8 fast is your daily productivity system, think of the 36-hour fast as a deep, restorative system reboot you can run every few weeks or months. This is where your body gets to go beyond simple fat burning and starts a miraculous process of cellular deep cleaning called autophagy, which literally means self-eating. It's your body's way of tidying up, recycling old and damaged cell components, and making things more efficient. It's like giving your insides a full-service spa day. The mental benefits are even more profound. Successfully completing a 36-hour fast is a powerful proof of concept to your own brain. It proves, unequivocally, that you are in charge, not your passing whims, not your conditioned habits, and certainly not the whining of your hunger gremlin. It's a serious level up, but it's far more achievable than you think. I'm going to give you my exact 4-phase blueprint that turns this daunting challenge into a straightforward, empowering experience. Phase 1, the launch pad, the day before. You wouldn't launch a rocket without a pre-flight check, and you shouldn't walk into a 36-hour fast unprepared. Your success is often decided the day before you even start. Let's say you decide to start your fast after dinner on a Sunday night. Your entire day on Sunday is the launch pad. Your final meal matters. This is crucial. Do not, I repeat, do not have a Last Supper carb fest of pizza and ice cream. That's like trying to launch a rocket with sugary, low-grade fuel. It will backfire. A massive carb load will spike your insulin, making the initial hours of your fast a brutal blood sugar roller coaster ride. Instead, your last meal should be designed to keep your insulin low and stable. Think high-quality protein, healthy fats, and loads of fiber. A piece of salmon with a big green salad and avocado, for example, is a perfect launch pad meal. It will keep you full and make the transition into a fasted state smooth and seamless. Mentally clear the decks. Don't plan your first 36-hour fast for a day when you have a massive presentation or a stressful family gathering. Pick a normal, relatively low-key day. A regular Monday at work is perfect. It helps to have a clear runway ahead. Tell your partner or roommate what you're doing so they don't try to tempt you with snacks, and more importantly, so that they can be your cheerleader. Frame it in your mind not as a punishment, but as an exciting experiment. You're a scientist, and this is a fascinating test of your own operating system. Phase 2, the cruise phase. The rocket is in the air. This is the main event. Let's say you finish dinner at 7 p.m. on Sunday night. You'll be fasting through all of Monday and breaking your fast with breakfast on Tuesday morning. Handling the gremlin. The hunger gremlin will absolutely show up, but you know his tricks now. He'll be loudest around your normal meal times, lunchtime on Monday, for example. This is Gerlin working on a schedule. Your job is to acknowledge it, maybe have a laugh at its predictability, and then ride the wave using your gremlin taming toolkit. Grab a glass of water, a black coffee, or a cup of green tea. The wave will pass in about 20 minutes, I promise. Hydration is your best friend. Drink lots of water. And here's the pro tip that makes all the difference. Add a pinch of high-quality salt, like sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, to a couple of your glasses of water throughout the day. When you fast, your body flushes out sodium, and this loss of electrolytes is what often causes headaches or fatigue. A little bit of salt works wonders. Black coffee and herbal tea are also your allies. They help with blunting hunger and keeping you focused. No milk, no sugar, obviously. Embrace the superpower. The first part of Monday might feel a little slow, but for many people, something amazing happens in the afternoon of the fast. As your body fully switches over to running on clean energy, ketones from your fat stores, a state of incredible mental clarity often descends. The brain fog evaporates, your focus sharpens. It can feel like your brain has just been upgraded with new RAM. This is the magic you're waiting for. Channel this clean energy into some deep, productive work. Phase 3, the gentle landing. You've done it. You've woken up on Tuesday morning. You've conquered the 36 hours. You might feel like celebrating by demolishing a stack of pancakes. Please, for the love of your digestive system, don't do this. Landing a plane is a delicate process. You can't just crash it onto the runway. Your digestive system has been dormant, and you need to wake it up gently. Start small and gentle. Break your fast with something small, gentle, and easily digestible. A handful of nuts, some avocado, a small bowl of yogurt, or a cup of bone broth are all fantastic options. Avoid a massive meal high in carbs. Wait a little. After your small wake-up meal, give your body about 30 to 60 minutes before you eat a more substantial but still sensible breakfast. This gives your system time to switch back on. This simple step can save you from any potential stomach discomfort. Phase 4, the afterglow, the days following. The immediate hours after you've landed are where you really get to appreciate the benefits. Notice how you feel.
You might notice you feel less bloated. Food will taste amazing. Fasting has a way of resetting your palate. You will feel a profound sense of accomplishment and a quiet confidence. This psychological win is the single greatest benefit of the 36-hour fast. It's an irrefutable piece of evidence that you are far more resilient and in control than you ever gave yourself credit for. It's a superpower you can access whenever you choose, a tool you now have in your arsenal for life.
Chapter 6, The Art of the Feast. The secret to nourishment goes way beyond calories. I think we need to talk about the word feast. For most of us, it conjures up images of a medieval banquet, a king with a turkey leg in one hand, shouting, "More wine!" It implies a total loss of control, a glorious no-holds-barred binge that will inevitably be followed by regret and a food coma. When I tell people I feast after I fast, I can see them mentally picturing me alone in my kitchen, trying to unhinge my jaw to fit an entire pizza in my mouth. Let me assure you, that's not quite the scene. The biggest misconception about intermittent fasting is that it's a game of starvation followed by a chaotic free-for-all. People think you're white-knuckling it through the fast, only to go completely feral during your eating window. But this fundamentally misunderstands the entire point. Fasting isn't about restriction. It's about creating contrast. It's the silence that makes the music sound sweeter. And the feast isn't a binge. It's the beautiful, intentional, and deeply satisfying celebration of food that follows the quiet of the fast. Honestly, one of the most unexpected and joyful side effects of this whole experiment has been how it completely rewired my relationship with food. I used to be a chronic, mindless eater. I'd eat while watching YouTube, while answering emails, while walking down the street. Food was just there, a background noise. The first time I ate after a 24-hour fast, I had a simple bowl of Greek yogurt with some berries and a handful of almonds. Nothing fancy. But as I took the first spoonful, something incredible happened. It was like I was tasting it in 4K Ultra HD. The creaminess of the yogurt, the sharp sweetness of the raspberries, the earthy crunch of the almonds, every note was perfectly clear. Fasting acts as a palate cleanser for a life of overstimulation. Our modern food environment is a constant assault on our taste buds. We're so used to hyper-sweet, hyper-salty, engineered for addiction flavors that we've forgotten what real food tastes like. Fasting hits the reset button. It clears out the noise and allows you to appreciate the subtle, wonderful flavors of simple, wholesome ingredients. This is where we reclaim the joy of eating, not as a way to numb boredom or stress, but as a genuine moment of nourishment and pleasure. But how do we build a meal that truly satisfies us without falling back into the trap of calorie counting or the chaos of a binge? We use a simple visual blueprint. Forget the scales, forget the apps, just use your eyes. I call it the PFFC plate. The no numbers blueprint, building your perfect feast. When it's time to break your fast and build your meal, think in terms of these 4 components. Protein first, the foundation. Make protein the hero of your plate. This is the non-negotiable starting point. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient. It's what sends the, "Okay, we're good here," signal to your brain. It's also crucial for maintaining muscle. This isn't about guzzling weirdly flavored protein shakes. It's about delicious real food. Grilled chicken, a beautiful piece of salmon, a hearty lentil stew, scrambled eggs, a block of tofu. Start by putting a generous portion of your chosen protein on the plate. Fat is your friend, the flavor engine. Please, I beg you, liberate yourself from the trauma of the low-fat era of the 90s. Fat is not the enemy. Healthy fats are essential for hormone production, brain health, and absorbing certain vitamins. More importantly, fat is what makes food taste good. This is where the joy comes in. Drizzle your salad generously with extra virgin olive oil.
Slice up half an avocado. Add a sprinkle of cheese or a handful of nuts and seeds. Fat signals satiety and makes the entire meal feel luxurious and satisfying. Fiber on the side, the color and the crowd. Now fill the rest of your plate with colorful, fiber-rich vegetables. A massive, vibrant salad. A side of roasted broccoli and peppers. Steamed green beans. The goal is abundance. Don't think of this as a tiny, sad garnish. Go wild! These are packed with the micronutrients your body is craving, and the fiber feeds your gut bacteria, which are essential for everything from digestion to your mood. A happy gut is a happy life. My rule of thumb, try to get at least 3 different colors on your plate. Carbs as an option, the fuel tool. Notice that carbs are the final, optional component. They aren't the enemy, but they are also not the main event that our food pyramid once told us they should be. Think of them as a tool you can use depending on your energy needs. If you've had a massive workout, adding a source of clean carbohydrate, like a roasted sweet potato, a scoop of quinoa, or some brown rice, makes perfect sense. If you've had a more sedentary day, you might not need it at all. The key is to see carbs as a supporting actor, not the star of the show. What does this look like in practice? It's a huge plate with a grilled chicken thigh, protein, on a bed of spinach and rocket with sliced peppers and cucumber, tossed in a delicious olive oil vinaigrette with half an avocado and some feta. That is a feast. It's delicious, it requires 0 mathematical calculations, and it will leave you feeling energized and satisfied for hours. Compare that to a typical diet meal. A small, dry chicken breast with a sad little portion of steamed, unseasoned broccoli. One is a meal of abundance, flavor, and joy. The other is a meal of restriction and misery. Which one do you think is more sustainable for the rest of your life? The art of the feast is about shifting your mindset from restriction to intention. It's about honoring your fast with a meal that truly nourishes you, body and soul. It's a moment to be present, to be grateful, and to enjoy the simple, profound pleasure of eating good food. That is a system you can stick with forever.
Part 3. The Inner Game. Unlocking Your Power and Potential. Chapter 7. Feasting or Addiction. Decoding the Modern Dilemma of Dopamine, Donuts, and Default Habits. All right, let's play out a scene. You're at the office, it's 2:30 p.m., and you're trying your best to be productive. And then it appears. Someone walks in and places a box of donuts in the communal kitchen. Suddenly, a war breaks out in your head. Rational brain. I'm not hungry. I had a perfectly good lunch. That donut is just a bottle of sugar and refined flour. It will not help me achieve my long-term goals. Gremlin brain. Donut. Shiny, glazed, delicious donut. Life is short. What's the point of anything if not for the brief, fleeting joy of that donut? We must have it now. We've all been there. And for years, I believed that when I inevitably caved and ate the donut, it was because my willpower was fundamentally broken. I saw it as a personal character flaw, a sign of my own weakness. But what if I told you that your willpower isn't the problem? What if the game is rigged? What if that donut isn't just food, but a carefully engineered product designed to launch a precision strike on the most primitive part of your brain's reward system? Welcome to the wild world of modern food and the neuroscience of craving. To understand what's happening, we need to talk about my favorite neurotransmitter, dopamine. Dopamine, the more molecule. Most people think of dopamine as the pleasure molecule, but that's not quite right. It's more accurately the motivation molecule. It's the neurochemical that drives us to seek things out. It's the force behind curiosity, ambition, and craving. It's the little voice in your head that says, hey, that was good. Let's do that again. Our brains evolved this system for survival. When our ancestors found a rare, energy-dense beehive full of honey, their brains released a big hit of dopamine. This stamped the memory in their minds. Honey equals amazing source of survival energy. Find more of this. It was a brilliant system for a world of scarcity.
The problem is we no longer live in a world of scarcity. We live in a world of a donut shop on every corner. Food scientists who are, I'm sure, lovely people, but are also terrifyingly good at their jobs, have spent decades figuring out how to create products that trigger the biggest possible dopamine rush. They call it finding the bliss point. They've perfected the combination of salt, sugar, and fat that maximizes that more signal in our brains. A donut, a bag of crisps, or a fizzy drink aren't just food. They are hyper-palatable, a fancy term for things designed to be artificially, irresistibly delicious. They are weapons-grade pleasure bombs. Eating a piece of broccoli gives your brain a gentle, pleasant little dopamine nudge. Eating a glazed donut is like setting off a dopamine fireworks display. Here's where it gets really interesting. Your brain is an adaptation machine. If you keep smashing the dopamine button with these fireworks displays, your brain starts to protect itself. It says, whoa, this is way too much stimulation, and it begins to down-regulate its own dopamine receptors. Think of your dopamine response like a volume dial. A donut initially turns it all the way up to 10. But if you keep eating them, your brain makes the dial stickier. The next time, you only get to a 7. Soon you need 2 donuts just to get that same initial rush. Meanwhile, the pleasure you get from a simple apple, which used to register as a 3, now barely even moves the needle. This leads to a fascinating and slightly tragic distinction that neuroscientists make between wanting and liking. Wanting is the dopamine-driven craving. It's the obsessive thinking about the donut, the compulsion to go and get it. Liking is the actual pleasure you experience while eating it. Have you ever desperately craved something, then finally gotten it, and while you're eating it, you realize, this isn't even that good? That's the trap. The hyper-palatable food has hijacked your wanting system so powerfully that it's completely out of proportion to the actual liking you get from it. You're stuck in an addictive loop, chasing a high that gets harder and harder to reach. So, how do we break the cycle? How do we fix our sticky dopamine dial? Fasting is the ultimate pattern interrupt. This, for me, is one of the most profound and liberating benefits of fasting. Fasting is a pattern interrupt. It is the most powerful tool we have for stepping off the dopamine roller coaster and allowing our brains to reset. When you are intentionally fasting, you're creating a period of time with no artificial stimulation. You are giving your dopamine receptors a much-needed holiday. During this quiet period, your brain slowly begins to heal and resensitize itself. The sticky volume dial starts to loosen up. It returns to its factory settings. The effect is nothing short of magical. As I mentioned before, the first apple you eat after a 24 or 36-hour fast can taste like the most incredible piece of candy you've ever had. That's not just your imagination. That is your resensitized dopamine system responding with a genuine wave of pleasure to a natural, whole food. This changes everything. It puts you back in the driver's seat. The goal isn't to never eat a donut again. The goal is to get to a place where you can see a donut, consciously decide whether you actually want it, and if you do, enjoy it for what it is, and then stop. You're no longer a slave to the uncontrollable wanting that the food was designed to create. You become a conscious Epicurean, someone who can genuinely enjoy and savor their food, whatever it may be. It gives you the freedom to choose, and in our modern world, that freedom is the ultimate superpower.
Chapter 8, Riding the Waves, How to Embrace the Ups, Downs, and I Ate a Cookie, Now What moments. All right, let's be honest. For all the talk of systems, blueprints, and operating system upgrades, there will come a day when a tiny, delicious-looking cheesecake canapé will appear in front of you at a wedding reception, and you will eat it. This is not a hypothetical. This is my life. A few years ago, I was at a friend's wedding. I was on a solid fasting schedule, feeling great, and my eating window wasn't due to open for another 3 hours. I was happily sipping a sparkling water, feeling disciplined and slightly smug. And then the canapés came out.
I successfully dodged the miniature quiches and the suspicious-looking vol au vents. But then I saw them. Perfect, bite-sized cheesecakes, each topped with a single glistening raspberry. My rational brain and my gremlin brain, who had been getting along so well, were suddenly at war. It was a brief but bloody battle. The gremlin, I am sorry to report, won a decisive victory. I ate the cheesecake. It was glorious. And then for the next 10 minutes, a very familiar voice started piping up in my head. A voice that had absolutely nothing to do with my hunger gremlin. This was a different character entirely. Let's call him the inner critic. "Well, you've blown it now," he sneered. 3 hours away from your eating window. All that discipline, straight out the window. You've completely failed. Might as well have a few of those sausage rolls now. The day is a write-off. In fact, the whole week is probably ruined. You can start again on Monday. Maybe. For years, this inner critic had the power to derail me completely. A single unplanned cookie wasn't just a cookie. It was a referendum on my entire character. One tiny deviation from the perfect plan meant the plan itself was a failure, and by extension, so was I. This, my friends, is the all-or-nothing mindset, and it is the single most destructive bug in our programming. It is the reason most diets and most New Year's resolutions are gathering dust by February. This is the chapter I desperately wish I'd had when I started. It's your official written permission slip to be human. Your fasting journey will not be a perfectly straight, upward trending line on a graph. It will look more like a coastline, full of beautiful stretches, but also with messy inlets, rocky patches, and the occasional rogue wave that knocks you over. The goal is not to avoid the waves. The goal is to get better at riding them. Here's the mental model shift that changed everything for me. I stopped thinking like a dieter on a pass-fail exam and started thinking like a scientist running an experiment. When a scientist experiment has an unexpected result, they don't throw their lab coat on the floor, scream, "I've ruined everything," and storm out. They get curious. They lean in and ask, that's interesting. What data can I gather from this? The cookie isn't a moral failure. It's just a data point. And armed with this mindset, we can build a toolkit for turning those data points into progress. The resilience toolkit. What to do when you eat the cookie. The next time you go off plan, instead of activating your inner critic, open up this simple 3-step toolkit. Run the post-cookie debrief. This is your scientist mode. Instead of beating yourself up, ask yourself a few neutral, curious questions. What was the trigger? In my case, it was a social situation combined with a visually appealing, novel food. It wasn't hunger. For you, it might have been stress after a tough meeting, or boredom while watching TV. What can I learn from this? My data point told me that high-pressure social events are a potential weak spot in my system. The learning is, next time, I can have a simple plan. I will enjoy myself, and if I see a tiny cheesecake, I will consciously decide if it's worth it. And if it is, I will enjoy it guilt-free, and then just get back to the plan. You're not fixing a character flaw. You're just improving your environment. Activate the 24-hour rule. Your inner critic loves to catastrophize. One cookie becomes a ruined day, which becomes a ruined week. We need to short-circuit this. The 24-hour rule is simple. No matter what happened today, the slate is wiped completely clean tomorrow. The cookie has a shelf life of 24 hours. It has absolutely no bearing on what you do the next day. You get back to your default schedule immediately, with zero guilt and zero need to compensate by starving yourself. It's just one data point, not a trend. Use the zoom out technique. When you're standing a centimeter away from a single red dot on a giant white canvas, the red dot is all you can see. It feels enormous and catastrophic. This is what it feels like right after you've eaten the unplanned cookie. The zoom out technique is to mentally take 10 big steps back from the canvas. See the whole picture. Your entire month is the canvas. That cookie is a tiny, insignificant dot. In a month of consistent fasting days, that one off-plan moment is statistically irrelevant to your progress. It's the overall pattern, the sum of your efforts over time that creates the result. This journey is not about achieving a perfect streak. That's a boring, fragile goal that sets you up for failure. It's about building a robust, flexible, and resilient system that can absorb the shocks of real life. It's about being kind to yourself, learning from your experiences, and playing the long game. So, please, eat the cookie every once in a while. Enjoy it. And then, like a scientist, simply take note of the data and get back to the fascinating experiment of you.
Chapter 9. Unlocking Your Inner Power. Fasting as a tool for more than just weight loss. Let's be honest. For a lot of people, the gateway into the world of intermittent fasting is the promise of looking a bit better. Maybe it's about losing a few stubborn pounds, fitting into an old suit, or simply feeling a bit more comfortable and confident. And that's a perfectly fine place to start. That's the shiny feature that gets you interested in the first place. It's like buying a new smartphone because you've heard the camera is amazing. You take a few photos, and sure enough, they're brilliant. But then, as you start to explore the phone, you discover the App Store. You find apps for productivity, for learning a language, for meditation, for managing your finances. You realize that the amazing camera wasn't the main event at all. It was just the invitation to discover a whole ecosystem that can fundamentally upgrade every other area of your life. This is the real story of fasting. The weight loss and physical health benefits are the amazing camera, but the profound mental, emotional, and psychological upgrades you unlock along the way, that's the App Store. And once you discover the App Store, it changes the entire game. The biological upgrade. Meet your internal tidying up crew. Before we get to the really juicy psychological stuff, there's one more amazing biological process we need to talk about. It has a slightly intimidating scientific name, but the concept is beautifully simple. It's called autophagy. It literally translates from the Greek as self-eating, which sounds a bit gruesome, but it's one of the most incredible restorative processes your body has. Think of it like this. Inside every one of your cells, things can get a bit messy over time. Old proteins get misfolded, bits of cellular machinery get worn out. It's like a workshop that gets cluttered with broken tools and random bits of junk. Autophagy is your body's internal Marie Kondo. When you've been in a fasted state for a while, this process really starts to ramp up after about 16 to 18 hours and gets more powerful in longer fasts. Your body activates this cellular spring cleaning crew. It goes around, finds all the junk, the broken parts, and the malfunctioning components, and recycles them. It breaks them down and reuses the raw materials to repair things and build new, pristine cellular machinery. It is, quite literally, a deep cleanse from the inside out. This isn't some mystical wellness concept. It's a Nobel Prize-winning piece of science. And this cellular rejuvenation is linked to all sorts of incredible benefits, from promoting longevity to supporting brain health. By giving your body a break from the constant work of digestion, you give it the time and energy to tidy up its own house. But as cool as that is, it's just the hardware upgrade. The software updates are where you'll feel the most profound shift. The psychological upgrade. The unseen superpowers. What you learn by intentionally not eating goes far beyond the biological. You're not just training your metabolism, you're training your mind. 1. The discipline dividend.
We often think of discipline as a grim, joyless experience, forcing yourself to do something you hate. But what if we reframed discipline as the ability to choose your actions rather than being dictated to by your impulses? What if discipline is actually a form of freedom? Every time your hunger gremlin pops up at 10 a.m. and demands a biscuit, and you calmly take a sip of water and get back to work, you are casting a vote for your own agency. You are doing a single rep for your discipline muscle. It's a small win, but those small wins compound. The muscle you build by saying "not now" to a food craving is the exact same muscle you use to sit down and study when you'd rather watch Netflix, or to work on your side hustle when you're feeling lazy, or to put on your running shoes when the sofa is calling your name. 2. The resilience engine. Modern life has made us incredibly fragile to discomfort. The slightest pang of hunger, boredom, or frustration sends us scrambling for a distraction or a snack. We've come to see discomfort as an emergency signal that needs to be silenced immediately. Fasting recalibrates this entirely. It teaches you, in a very direct and physical way, to sit with a feeling of discomfort and realize that it's not a big deal. The hunger pang comes, it feels intense for a few minutes, and then it goes. You don't die. Your world doesn't end. You just notice it and carry on. This is an emotional superpower. By learning that discomfort is temporary and tolerable, you build a mental resilience that spills over into everything. A difficult conversation at work, a challenging workout, a frustrating setback on a project, they all become less intimidating because you've had practice at riding these small waves of discomfort every day. 3. The mindfulness magnet. In our noisy world, we're shockingly disconnected from our own bodies. We eat because the clock says it's 1 p.m., or because we're bored, or because someone put free muffins in the kitchen. We rarely eat because we are truly physically hungry. Fasting forces you to become a connoisseur of your own internal signals. You get to experience the entire spectrum, from the phantom cravings of the gremlin to the quiet, gentle hum of genuine hunger. It's a form of applied mindfulness. You're not sitting on a cushion trying to watch your thoughts. You're living your life and observing your body's signals with a new level of clarity. The ultimate takeaway: proof you are in the driver's seat. If you take only one thing away from this whole book, let it be this: fasting is not a diet. It's a tool for demonstrating to yourself that you are in charge of your own life. Every single time you choose to delay a meal, you are generating an undeniable piece of evidence that you are the one at the controls. You are not a helpless victim of your cravings, your habits, or the office donut box. You have the power to feel an impulse, consider it, and then consciously choose your response. This feeling, this deep, unshakable sense of self-efficacy, is the true secret of unlocking your inner power. It's a confidence that isn't built on external validation, but on the quiet, internal victories you achieve every day. You've proven to yourself, in a visceral way, that you are the CEO of you. And once you truly believe that, everything else starts to feel possible.
Conclusion. Your odyssey begins now. All right, we've covered a lot of ground. We've dismantled decades-old nutrition myths, we've given our inner hunger gremlin a name and a personality, and we've demoted calorie counting from its role as CEO of our health. We've talked about dopamine, discipline, and the delightful art of the feast. If this book were a university course, this would be the final lecture before the exam. But life isn't a university course, and this isn't an exam. There's no pass or fail. There's only an experiment, an adventure.
your own personal odyssey. The ancient saying is that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. For our purposes, let's reframe that. An upgraded life can begin with a single skipped meal. All the theory and science in these chapters are just the map. They're interesting, and they point you in the right direction. But the map is not the territory. The real magic happens when you fold up the map, step out the door, and start walking. The goal was never to convince you to adopt my system. It was to give you the principles and the tools to build your own. To see a body not as a faulty machine that needs to be wrestled into submission with brutal willpower, but as an incredible, adaptable operating system that you can learn to work with. The power to fundamentally change your energy, your focus, and your relationship with food doesn't come from a book. It's already within you. Fasting is just the key. It's the tool that proves to you on a fundamental level that you are the one in the driver's seat. So, let's stop talking and start doing. Let's run a simple, low-stakes, one-week experiment. The 7-day Kickstart Challenge, your first experiment. Think of this as a tutorial level in a video game. The stakes are low, the goal is learning, and you can't lose. Just run the experiment and collect the data. Day 1 and 2, the observer. Your mission, do absolutely nothing differently. Don't change when or what you eat. Your only job is to be a scientist and observe. Notice when your hunger gremlin shows up. Is it because you're bored, stressed, or just because it's a certain time of day? Jot down a note on your phone. The goal? Gather data and get to know your patterns. Day 3, the 12-hour shift. Your mission. Tonight, simply note the time you finish your dinner. Then, don't eat or drink anything with calories until 12 hours have passed. So if you finish at 8 p.m., you just have water or black coffee or tea until 8 a.m. This is easier than it sounds. You're asleep for most of it. Notice how you feel in the morning. Day 4, the gentle stretch. Your mission. Let's try to stretch that fast to 14 hours. If you finished at 8 p.m. last night, you'd aim to have your first meal at 10 a.m. You're just delaying breakfast a little. How does it feel? Does your focus change? Remember, water is your best friend. Days 5, 6, and 7, the daily commute. Your mission. Let's try the full 16-8. For the next 3 days, aim for a 16-hour fast and an 8-hour eating window. For example, eat between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. When you do eat, don't worry about perfection. Just try to build your meals using our PFFC plate blueprint. Protein, fat, and fiber first. Pay attention to the incredible flavor of your food. Enjoy your feasts. At the end of the week, do a quick review. What did you learn? What was surprising? What felt good? This isn't a test of your discipline. It's a test of the system. If it didn't work perfectly, the system needs a tweak, not you. My favorite resources to keep you going. Book, The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. This is the deep dive on the science of insulin that completely changed my understanding of metabolism. It's the perfect further reading. App, Zero. It's a beautifully simple app that just acts as a timer for your fasts. Seeing the clock tick down can be incredibly motivating in the beginning. The Golden Rule. Flexibility. If a friend invites you for breakfast, go to breakfast. A good system can absorb the shocks of real life. Just get back to your default setting tomorrow. This is a game you play for a lifetime, not for a week. And that's it. We're at the end of the book, but we're at the very beginning of your journey. You now have the framework, the tools, and the mental models. You know that hunger is not an emergency. You know that calories are not the whole story. And you know that one unplanned cookie isn't a failure. It's just a data point. The only thing left is to begin your experiment, to get a little curious, to see what your body is capable of when you give it a chance. The power to transform is already within you.
Fasting is just the key to unlocking it. Now, it's time to turn it. Your odyssey begins now.
A quick read summary of the 24/7 habit. Introduction: The accidental experiment that changed my life. The story. As a busy medical student, the author, Erikson, skipped breakfast one day purely to save time, a productivity hack. He expected to feel foggy and hungry, but was shocked to experience a state of incredible mental clarity and stable energy. The takeaway. Intermittent fasting isn't a restrictive diet, it's a life operating system upgrade discovered by accident. This book is a playbook on how changing when you eat, not what you eat, can unlock hidden energy and focus. Part 1. Unlearning everything you thought you knew about food. Chapter 1. The 3-meal myth. The lesson? The idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is not a biological rule, but a brilliant marketing campaign from the early 20th century, largely pushed by cereal companies like Kellogg's. The takeaway? Your body has 2 modes. Storage mode, when you eat, insulin is high and you store fat, and burning mode, when you fast, insulin is low and you burn stored fat for energy. Constantly eating keeps you stuck in storage mode. Skipping breakfast is the easiest way to switch to clean burning energy. Chapter 2. The Hunger Gremlin. The lesson? Most of the hunger we feel isn't real. It's phantom hunger created by a character in your head called the Hunger Gremlin, who screams for food when you're bored, stressed, or following a habit. The takeaway? You can tame the gremlin. Hunger comes in waves caused by the hormone ghrelin. If you ignore it for 10 to 20 minutes, it will pass. Use the Gremlin Taming Toolkit. 1. Wait 10 minutes. 2. Drink water first. 3. Switch your context. Do something else. And 4. Name the feeling. Ah, that's just my boredom gremlin. Chapter 3. The Calorie Counting Con. The lesson? The calories in, calories out model is fundamentally flawed. Your body is a complex chemistry lab, not a simple furnace. 100 calories of sugar and 100 calories of salmon have completely different hormonal effects. The takeaway? The hormone insulin is the true gatekeeper of fat storage. High-carb foods spike insulin, locking fat away. The goal is not to count calories, but to control insulin. Fasting is the simplest way to lower insulin and allow your body to access its own fat stores for fuel. Part 2. The Fasting Playbook. Chapter 4. Finding Your Fasting Flow. The lesson? Treat fasting as a flexible system, not a rigid diet. Find a rhythm that works for your life. The main options are 16-8 or the daily commute, fast for 16 hours, eat in an 8-hour window, the best for beginners. Eat, stop, eat, or the weekly reset, do a 24-hour fast once or twice a week. Or OMAD, the power hour, 1 meal a day, more advanced. The takeaway: a good system is adaptable. Don't skip life for your fast, adjust your fast for your life. On a social event or on holiday, just pause the system and restart tomorrow. There's no wagon to fall off of. Chapter 5. Conquering the 36-hour fast. The lesson? A 36-hour fast is the ultimate system reboot. It activates autophagy, your body's cellular spring cleaning process, and provides a massive psychological win. The takeaway? Follow a 4-step blueprint. Launchpad. Prepare the day before with a low-carb, high-fat protein meal. Cruise phase. Drink water with a pinch of salt to manage electrolytes and ride the hunger waves. Expect incredible mental clarity in the afternoon. Gentle landing. Break the fast with something small and easy to digest, like nuts or avocado, not a huge carb-heavy meal. And afterglow. Notice how great you feel and log the insight. You are in control. Chapter 6. The Art of the Feast. The lesson? Fasting isn't about starvation, it's about making your eating window a feast, an intentional celebration of food. Fasting resets your palate, making wholesome food taste amazing. The takeaway? Build your meals without counting calories using the PFCC plate. Fill your plate with protein first, the hero, add healthy fats for flavor and satiety, load up on fiber, colorful vegetables, and treat carbs as an optional extra based on your activity level. Part 3. The Inner Game. Chapter 7. Feasting or Addiction? The lesson? Modern junk food is engineered to be hyper-palatable, hijacking your brain's dopamine, the motivation molecule, system. This creates a powerful wanting for the food that is much stronger than the actual liking or pleasure you get from it. You aren't weak, the game is rigged. The takeaway? Fasting is the ultimate pattern interrupt. By giving your brain a break from this overstimulation, it resets your dopamine sensitivity. This restores your freedom to choose your food rather than being controlled by cravings. Chapter 8. Riding the Waves. The lesson? You will have off days. You will eat the cookie. The destructive all-or-nothing mindset turns one small slip-up into a total failure. This is a bug in our programming. The takeaway? Adopt a scientist's mindset. A mistake is just a data point. Use the resilience toolkit. 1. Run a post-cookie debrief to get curious, not critical. 2. Activate the 24-hour rule where the slate is wiped clean tomorrow. And 3. Use the zoom out technique to see that one cookie is an insignificant dot in the big picture. Perfection isn't the goal, resilience is. Chapter 9. Unlocking your inner power. The lesson? The physical benefits of fasting are just the camera on the smartphone. The real upgrades are in the App Store of mental and emotional benefits. The takeaway? Fasting builds transferable skills. It trains discipline. Each time you say no to the gremlin, you strengthen your willpower muscle for other areas of life. Resilience. You learn to sit with discomfort and realize it's not an emergency. Mindfulness. You become acutely aware of your body's true signals. The ultimate win is the undeniable proof that you are in charge of your own choices. Conclusion. Your odyssey begins now. The lesson? The book is a map, not the territory. The real learning begins when you start your own experiment. The takeaway? Start with the 7-day Kickstart Challenge. The power to change is already in you. Fasting is just the key that proves it to you. The journey begins with a single skipped meal.